and I can see that we have people joining us. And let's see who's joining us. Bernard is here, and so Karen and Jean, Prasad, Praveen, Vijay, Richard, wonderful. Rashika, wonderful to have you all here. Thank you so much for taking the time to find out about what is by far one of the best, if not the best, diplomas currently available on the market in innovation and design thinking. I am very proud to have been associated and continue to be associated with this diploma by Emeritus and teaching it now for almost 4 years. And what I plan to do is tell you everything you need to know about the diploma, about my role. My role is an academic role, so I am a course leader providing academic services and academic information and helping the students really understand and get the maximum out of the courses in this diploma. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about the about Emeritus. We'll obviously overview the courses in this diploma. Talk a little bit about the network that you have, and we will of course take Q&A. Now, in terms of questions, if you have questions as we go, please post your questions on Q&A. What that means is that they will not disappear up the chat as you type them in, and also it means that if you have questions that are not related to the academic aspect, for example, they're related to logistical sides of this diploma or financial aspects, we do have account directors and account managers from Emeritus online in the panelists, and they will be more than happy to answer any of those questions. I will simply leave those questions for them to answer and concentrate on the academic side as much as possible. I'm being told that we are also live on Facebook, so that's for places where Zoom is not available. That Facebook option is now gone live as well. Wonderful. So once again, thank you all. I see that we have 26 attendees. It keeps on climbing up. Wonderful. So as I said, please, if you have any questions, post them into Q&A. Let's dive right into it. I'll give you a quick few words about myself. I am a course leader now with Emeritus for almost 4 years, and I do this mainly because I love teaching, and I come from actually a line of teachers. Both grandmas were school teachers, and multiple both grandfathers and multiple uncles who were professors at the university. So there is a strong tradition of academic teaching in the family, and I'm very happy to continue that tradition. As well as teaching on this course, I teach at MBA programs, and I teach also at executive education directly to companies. I've had the pleasure of consulting and training some of the top companies in the world in design thinking, in SIT, in strategic innovation and innovation management companies, including EY, including Hero, where I was actually based for a month and a half and their incubation project for Hero Hatch. By the way, if anything I mentioned to you about clients, please be aware that because of confidentiality, anything I say to you has been cleared for publication and has been published already in the media. I'm very careful not to mention anything that is confidential otherwise, as I'm sure you'll appreciate. But yes, so my background is law and economics from undergrad, and I have done an MBA specializing in innovation and entrepreneurship. And I also had the honor of heading internal innovation for a multinational corporation called Amdocs, which you may or may not have heard about it. If you're from India, you've probably heard about it because it employs about a third to a quarter of employees in India, especially in Pune, and it is really the leader in IT systems for telecommunication companies. So that's a little bit about me. I'm based in Sydney, Australia. I am very passionate about innovation, the power of innovation to make positive change. And I am very happy to bring you information about this course, mainly because as a former innovation manager, one of my biggest challenges was hiring people who have the requisite knowledge in innovation. That was, albeit 5 years ago since I left Amdocs, but back then it was very difficult. It still is difficult to find good people who have innovation skills and some innovation experience, especially in corporate innovation management. So this is a great course to prepare you. Even if you don't want to be an innovation manager, this is a great course to prepare you to bring innovation in multiple aspects of the jobs that you're doing, in multiple roles, whether it's product management or strategy or engineering, or even any of the internal practices, such as whether it's legal or financial or HR. Today, innovation is a must skill, and we really have put together the best courses from the best universities. And this is actually one of the things I love about Emeritus, and especially one of the things I love about this diploma is that it actually disrupted the way that online education has been done. You no longer have to do a diploma just from one institution. You can do what we call in the industry, in the IT industry, but in other industries as well, we call best of breed. And you can get the best courses from the best business schools, from the best universities, and actually put them together and package them into a very powerful diploma. And this is exactly what's happened here with the Emeritus Innovation Diploma, and that's what I want to take you through today. So, if you are not familiar with Emeritus, since 2014 has been partnering with really the best universities all over the world to create online courses. When I was looking at online courses a good 10, 15 years ago, one of the things that I found most disappointing or most frustrating with online courses is that many online courses just had you watch videos and peer review other students' work with no live aspect. What Emeritus have done, which in my opinion is absolutely brilliant, and this is not just a combination of best of breed courses from great schools such as MIT, Columbia, Dartmouth, and there's multiple other schools that have joined, Cambridge, European schools that have joined the network as well. It's really this aspect of being able to bring live teachers to support the very eminent professors that are in faculty and providing their lessons via video recordings. You also get course leaders like myself, who have background both in teaching academia and also consulting to industry. And I think that is one of the things that makes this most powerful. I taught at, if you're asking me which colleges I taught at UNSW in Sydney, Australia, in their internship, innovation internship program. I also taught at Bar Ilan University, MBA, executive MBA in Israel. I have not taught in the UAE. I understand that's probably where you are writing to us from, May. But I know that UAE is a very impressive country with some very very impressive schools. So so I hope that you've had a good experience. I'm pretty sure you've had a good experience there so far. Okay, I think I understood your question. If I didn't, please let me know, and I'm more than happy to rephrase. Okay, so that's a major strength, partnering with some of the best schools around the world, and over 66,000 students across the world. You can see, by the way, I was hoping this would be updated. What this map doesn't show is that there is a large contingency of students also from Australia, from Africa, including South Africa, from Canada as well. And from Central America. So I'm hoping this map will be updated to show just that the scale is even wider than what you can see here. Okay, let's have a little look at the diploma and talk about the diploma itself. So diploma, and I'm not going to read through these figures. You can see through them yourself, but you can see that it is very a lot has been invested in providing content, including online content, online classes, and this includes both webinars. For example, in design thinking, that will include webinars that you will not find in any other courses. For example, a webinar how to interview stakeholders. Most courses, when they teach you design thinking, just assume that the interview section, which, by the way, if you know a little bit about design thinking, anyone here working with design thinking right now, or having direct contact, or has been part of a team, a design thinking team, just put a smiley face into your chat if that is the case. And if I can ask you, thank you, Yuri. If I can ask you also, please update your to default. This is something that Zoom unfortunately is asking us to do, from all panelists, which is the default, to all panelists and attendees. What that means is that when you have it as all panelists and attendees, is that everybody in who's joined us in attendees can see your comments. And if you just have it on all panelists, then you will then only myself and the other panelists here will be able to see it. So please update that before you post, and if you didn't, just please repost again. So I can see very impressive. So 2 patents pending from Richard. Very impressive, Richard. I can see lots of smiles, a lot of people, and we even have a design thinking coach, Vijay. That's fantastic. That's very, very impressive to see. Another person with a patent, Rashika. So very, very impressed. And I have to say that doesn't surprise me. The quality of the students is always very high. The students that go into these courses, as we'll see in a moment, have a lot of them have a lot of experience in across a number of industries. And this is one of the strengths. Another strength and another thing I love about this course is that when you're working on team work, and there's a lot of teamwork here, you're really working with very experienced and interesting people from around the world, and it's a great opportunity for networking as well. Janelle is saying, I would like to understand how to build my skills in this area. Absolutely. So again, I'm going to go through each one of the 4 courses. There are 3 courses and a capstone. The capstone is considered a course. For those of you who are not familiar with the term, capstone is like a summarizing assignment. We devote 6 weeks to taking you through a very intensive capstone experience where you work in teams to develop solutions to major challenges that you identify from challenge definition all the way to presenting a written pitch. And sometimes we most of the courses the best or selected assignments, group assignments, you get to present and pitch your assignment to other your student colleagues in a way that stimulates a internal corporate pitch or a pitch to VCs and other investors. So there's a lot of work and thought that's being put into these courses. We will talk about financials in a moment. And again, please everybody switch to all panelists and attendees. It just means that no one can see your comments if you're staying on all panelists. And Janelle will definitely take you through that to build skills in various aspects of innovation topics. And that's what I want to talk with you today. So as you can see, there are multiple ways that this course is taught. And now it says, I just want to be very, very clear with you. It says 4 to 6 hours per week. Now, to be completely open with you, like I've been with everything else, 4 to 6 hours, in my opinion, it's kind of the minimum. It's what you need to do to get through and pass. But like with anything else, I always encourage my students to go the extra mile and do more and do additional reading. And I provide additional reading, and some of that reading is actually via YouTube short YouTube videos. But the point is that if you do 4 to 6 hours per week, you'll get through the course. If you put more, if you put even 2-3 hours more per week, you will get so much more. So it's like anything. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of that. We give a lot of case studies, a lot of industry examples throughout the course. There's a lot of hands-on work, a lot of project work, a lot of engagement work, especially in the live sessions. I believe that live sessions should be as interesting as possible. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to do what I would have loved to do with you in this 1 hour information webinar, and that is to give you quizzes and to give you some fun activities, break you out into breakout rooms and get you to work as teams on something. I wish we had an extra hour. Maybe I'll discuss that with Abishai and the team, but I think it would be great for you to experience some of that interactiveness and engagement that happens in real courses and feel the excitement of that. I'm being asked, is this a benefit for electronics engineering? This is a benefit for any professional that wants to take their career further. It's like asking, is MBA a benefit to a pharmacist? Versus is MBA a benefit to a mechanical engineer? Obviously, this is not an MBA, but it's the same logic. If you are a professional and you are a professional in the field of electronics engineering or any kind of professional, this will give you industry best practice skills, tools, and processes to help you leverage your existing career to the next level and to the next few levels. I would say you don't have to become an innovation manager from these courses, but what you will see today is that companies are looking for people with innovation experience and innovation knowledge, and companies and governments, by the way, I keep on saying corporations, but I'm referring again to any organizations, and that includes not-for-profits, not-for-profit NGO organizations, government departments. All of these are understanding how important it is that their staff and managers have innovation skills. Design thinking really is the top #1 in demand skill in innovation today. And what we've done, and this is another great thing about this course, is that as well as design thinking, we've added SIT, which is the Breakthrough Innovation course. I'll talk about that in a moment as well. And a strategic course, strategies innovation, based on the 3-box solution. This is the only diploma I know of that combines design thinking and breakthrough innovation, which are ideation style methodologies, and takes it beyond ideation. And I can tell you from experience as an innovation consultant now, and I include my consulting time back at Amdocs when I was consulting to Amdocs clients with over, I would say now a good 11 years of consulting experience in the innovation field. I would say one of the biggest problems that organizations face from my experience and from academic research as well, by the way. You don't have to take my word for it. You can Google this. One of the biggest problems that companies face in innovation, actually there's two big problems. One of them is that they don't know how to make the bridge from ideation, which means from an idea being green lighted to move forward, how to take that into incubation and how to turn that into a new line of business or a new product or a new service, or how to actually take that beyond just the idea. And so this is why the strategic course is such a great course. This is the third course that you will do, because it takes you into the state or the stage after you've been green lighted by management or by VCs, and takes you into what you need to do to ensure that your idea actually succeeds in the marketplace and doesn't become a casualty, a statistical casualty of being one of the 95+% startups that fail. Again, as a corporate startup, with the knowledge that you will have to avoid minefield of potential mistakes that people make. By the way, the second biggest problem I just want to share with you in innovation management, as someone who was in that hot seat for almost 6 years and continues to advise innovation managers, is innovation theater. Have you heard of innovation theater, of the term innovation theater? Put a smiley face if you've come across that. Just curious. Innovation theater is something that we in innovation management, what we call when companies want to show their employees and their customers that they're doing innovation, but actually they don't have the professional knowledge. You can see Vijay, Vijay, please do me a favor, switch to all panelists and attendees. That way everyone can see your comments and not just me. Innovation theater basically means that when companies don't really know what they're doing in innovation, they do what is easy to do. And that easy thing actually is event management. They do hackathons, they do ideation campaigns. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not against hackathons. I think hackathons can be a great tool. And I think innovation campaigns, ideation campaigns that present a challenge to employees and ask for ideas can be a great tool. Unfortunately, what I've seen happen in the industry is that because when these companies do innovation theater, they don't have the knowledge in-house and they don't bring in, unfortunately, outside experts to close that knowledge gap. And what they do is they do event management. So they don't use best practices. They don't prepare their employees for how to understand ideas beyond very simple aspects. They don't explain about the business model, for example, how important it is to innovate not just a particular product or service, but to look at business model innovation at that level. And they also make one of the biggest mistakes, and this really breaks my heart. And I tell my clients, don't create negative innovation. In negative innovation, has everyone heard of this term? Negative innovation is actually when there is a negative feeling in the company, there's a negative culture of innovation, and employees are against innovation because they've stopped trusting the company is serious about doing innovation. Anyway, these are very interesting topics, and I'm kind of straight off the purpose, which is to talk to you about this diploma. But what I want to connect it to is that this diploma stops you from making 99% of the mistakes you would make in innovation that I've seen companies make and employees in companies make. And not only does it stop you from making mistakes, it provides you with best practice tools to ensure that you are not just doing innovation theater, that you understand the process of innovation, that you understand what happens after ideation, which is the strategic part, and that when you come to actually bring the idea to life, you reduce the chance of failure down to an absolute minimum, and you increase your charge of success. So I'm going to ask. I'm still getting some questions from all panelists versus all panelists and attendees. I don't know if that's because you are not able to to fix that using the 2. I really would appreciate that, because I think those questions should be seen by everybody, unless you don't want them to. Anyway, I'm going to ask for that last question to be answered by program support account managers. So if you can do that, that would be great. I'm not seeing any questions going to Q&A. But that would really be great if you can put questions into Q&A, and we will pop into them as well. All right, let's continue. So you can see multiple assignments, team assignments, lots of examples throughout this diploma, and the capstone project as well. And you are learning in really, I would say, multi-channel way. You're learning with simulations, case studies. You're learning through short bite-sized videos. You're learning with lots of very specific projects and assignments that will take you through in a very organized way, both in design thinking, in SIT, and also in strategic innovation, that will take you through all the steps that you have, and also bring in some interesting aspects that I wasn't aware of before I got into this field that even existed, including DFE. Anyone wants to have a guess what DFE stands for? It relates to design thinking. I will give you a clue. The D stands for design. I think some of you are probably going to go off and Google that now, so I'll help you out. So it actually, we also look at designing for the environment. And that is also a very important point, because as you know, this is something that corporates with CSR, corporate social responsibility, and environmental responsibility are finding is much more important, especially if they want to retain leadership with their customers. So we talk about that as well in the design thinking course. Course leaders. So course leaders such as myself, I'm not the only course leader. There's obviously multiple course leaders that take different diplomas in different subjects, but the one thing that makes them that is similar, if you like, to them, is that they combine both academic experience as well as consulting and corporate experience. And so you're really getting the best of both worlds. You're getting the best from those course leaders, from their academic knowledge and the academic aspect. And we're talking about academic top schools such as MIT, Columbia, Dartmouth, etc. And you're also getting their consulting experience, and that will provide you with very relevant feedback on your group assignments, and that will provide you with very exciting live sessions where those course leaders share their anecdotes from customers. I always try and put examples from my work with customers. Often I don't mention the name of the customer for confidentiality reason, but I will always mention the industry that it's from and give you an idea of what the context was. So that's something to keep in mind as well. What you're seeing in this slide is just an overview of the modules that are covered in design thinking course, and you can see that one of the things that is really important here is to take you through step by step through various modules that represent the essence of design thinking based on the MIT approach, which is real, win, worth it. It provides you both a framework, and each one of those modules actually has tools that you can use. So it will include tools such as customer journey mapping, such as empathy maps, such as creating personas. Those of you who have worked with design thinking probably are familiar with most of these, if not all of them. It will use methodologies such as breaking down a need into sub-problems and really using this concept of customer centricity or user centricity to follow the philosophy of design thinking, which is human-centered design. That we're designing not based on what is comfortable for the company to do, but based on what will provide the best results for users and for customers, by really deeply using what's known as empathy, understanding their needs. By the way, empathy is a great topic. There's a great section on empathy that relates to how do you really understand needs of customers, especially when those needs are latent needs. Has anyone heard of the term latent needs or knows what latent needs are? I'd love to see what your thoughts are on that. I'm getting a question here. Will this course help me delivering consultation, small and small business in developing economies? If you are a consultant, then yes, this is a great course for, this is actually not a course, we're talking about a diploma. The subject in this diploma will definitely give you the basis you need to then go ahead and consult on those areas. So absolutely need, yes. So latent needs, yes, thank you, Pravin. Latent needs are unstated. Often they're even unknown needs, right? They're hidden. They're hidden from the customers and users themselves. And one of the things that we want to do is we want to identify, thank you, Deepa, exactly, they're hidden needs. They're needs that even the customer doesn't know they have. And if we can answer those needs and we can identify them through the way that we use empathy, we can do what's known as delight the customer or delight the user. And that means give them more than they actually thought they're going to get. And customers love it. I'm sure as a customer, you love it when you step into a hotel room, for example, if that still happens during COVID. And as a non-VIP customer, you find that you have chocolates and champagne and flowers and all these vouchers. That is really great. I'm not saying that's the only way to delight customers, but I'm just giving an example that when unexpected needs are answered that customers don't know about themselves, that is of great value. So we look at all that, we take you through real win worth it, making sure there's a real, that ideas that are created actually match real unmet needs of the market, that it's possible to actually make a solution. So the solution is feasible and it beats the competition. This is the win part, and that it's worth it, right? It would be great if we could do everything we wanted to do to satisfy customers, but it does need to be financially viable. So the final part is financial viability. We use NPV. Anybody knows what NPV is or used in NPV? Sorry, I was thinking of MVP, minimum viable product, and then I was thinking, right, so I was thinking of confused with net minimum viable product and net present value. So net present value, if you came across that term before, that's a great term. That basically is how we decide whether an idea is financially viable. Okay, and you actually learn how to do net present value. All right, wonderful. Let's continue. So in terms of faculty, we are very, very honored to have Professor Steve Eppinger, who's the course faculty, renowned world leader in design thinking, and a professor of management sciences, engineering systems. You can see very, very distinguished professor from MIT. And what I want to do right now to make this a little bit more interactive for you is I'd like you to watch the following video. And in that short video, you're going to see a certain character that is struggling with various difficulties. What I want you to do is to avoid the mistakes that just making myself a note here. Yep, that most people make, and instead of talking about what the needs are that you believe are not being met, I'd like you to put down your observations first of all. So what are you observing is happening with this bike messenger, right? What's he doing? What's around him? What's the condition of the road? What is he riding? What is he wearing? All your observations, please type them into chat as you're watching. There are no wrong answers, so please don't be afraid to put in that information. I'm going to do a switch and do a stop share, and then jump across and open up the video. And then we'll have a look at some of the questions here that I'm seeing are sitting in Q&A. All right, let's have a look. So please type into chat. Let me just bring chat up so I can see what you're typing. Please type into chat what you are observing in terms of what you're seeing in the clip.
Yeah, I'm headed there now. Okay, on my way. Good.
You're good?
Yeah. No, that's okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's why no talk on the phone when you're.
Right, fantastic. We've had some great observations. He's on a busy street. Most people say at this point, yes, there was a near collision, wasn't there, Tanya? She didn't quite collide, but I think there was a near collision there, and he's holding his mobile phone. He doesn't have a hands-free. He's distracted from the very beginning. Exactly. Very good. Very good. And based on these observations, right, spot on. This is fantastic. Let me just do a share back to the deck. One moment. Let me bring the chat back up. Zoom seems to love to turn chat off as soon as you switch your sources. Yeah, he's obviously facing lots of challenges, isn't he? Thandiwe, please switch to all panelists and attendees, and Andre as well. Again, nobody can see your comments if you've just got all panelists there. It's unfortunately a default of the way that Zoom works. So I ask you if you want to make sure that others can see what you're writing. Prasad. He's a kind of delivery guy. Yes, he's on a busy street, holding a mobile phone, making you struggle more, and the result is an accident. Great observations. Not enough protective gear. Yes, very good, very good. So I guess what I wanted to bring into your mind is that observations is our starting point. Observations is part of empathy. Observation is actually one of the three ways we do empathy in design thinking, by observing others and trying to understand them. If you remember the other two that I mentioned, they're interviews, and that's obviously something that we can continue doing throughout Zoom, and we're not affected by that because we can do Zoom interviews. And if anyone knows what the third way of empathy is, so observations, interviews, and there's another one called immersion, which is actually going into the role. So with immersion, you would put on a yellow t-shirt and you will become bike messenger, so you would know what the bike messenger goes through. With observation, you will spend time with the user. With interviews, you will interview them. By the way, I love the fact in the Middle East, anyone here from the Middle East? I think there was people from the UAE, but there is a king. If you all know about King Abdullah, of His Majesty King Abdullah of Jordan, he actually does that, and his father King Hussein did that as well. They would dress up as old people and they would go into government offices in disguise to see what the service is. And this is a great example of immersion, because they would actually feel directly what their citizens are going through when the citizens have to deal with the public bureaucracy. Okay, so really fascinating concept of empathy. All right, so from that we can move on to needs. Once we make observations, we can see what the needs are, and we can see that he's obviously needing not to be distracted. And I think a few of you quite mentioned that. And Dr. Latha, if you could also please update to all panelists and attendees, and Muhammad, if you could do that as well, just so that, again, unless you want your comments to be anonymous, but otherwise, if you want to share them with the rest of the people here, I think that would be fantastic, because there's really great comments. All right, you can see this is actually a real project that was done by one of the teams that was doing this course, Design Thinking. You can see some of the prototyping that they've done of what the solution could potentially look like. We spent quite a bit of time on prototyping and of prototyping. If you haven't heard of prototyping, you can look it up after this session. I love prototyping. It actually refers to low fidelity prototyping, includes things, allows you to use things like storyboards and wireframes and some great tools. So we look at prototyping for design. And again, this doesn't, I know we've talked mostly about products, but obviously this doesn't have to be about products only. We spend quite a bit of time talking about services and giving service-based examples as well. Okay, and here's a mock-up, right, of the product that this team ended up designing for their final project. All right, I'm just going to quickly have a look at Q&A, see what other questions I've got here. From Richard, is the capstone project presentation at the end like a Shark Tank? Dragon then a CNTV pitch to colleague. We do that Shark Tank style. Yes, we do it in design thinking, and in capstone we take a slightly different approach in the capstone, but you definitely get a chance if you are selected to do a Shark Tank presentation where the sharks are your fellow students. But of course, it's all very positive and encouraging. I don't think anyone gets. I know no one gets nasty like they do on that show, and no one puts anyone down. It's a very supportive environment. So keep that in mind. But yes, we want to make that as real as possible. We ask people to put the hats of investors, but they don't have to be investors. They can be other stakeholders. They can be regulators or customers or partners as well. So it's really up to you which role you want to play, and you can switch roles during those final presentations as well. You don't have to stick to one single role. All right, so I think we kind of talked about design thinking. This kind of summarizes what design thinking is, that it's creative, that it's human-centered, that it's systematic. I would summarize it to say that the way to look at design thinking is that it's best practice tools within best practice processes. So you learn both process and you learn what tools to use. Doesn't mean you have to use every single tool that you learn, but you will also learn the variety of best practice tools available within design thinking, but also you'll be able to compare design thinking to breakthrough innovation tools and decide which are better and more relevant for you to use. You'll definitely have I really want to emphasize this. One of the best things about this diploma is that you come out with as close to real to life experience as possible, working on real world challenges with other team members throughout the world, and you will understand that real win worth it framework, and it'll become a driving framework for you in terms of gateways for making design thinking process decisions. And you learn how to identify needs of stakeholders. You learn the difference between different types of users. So user centricity becomes very important. It's not just mainstream users that we want to speak to. We want to speak to extreme users, and we want to speak to lead users. And these are very specific terms that relate to specific types of users that gives us a lot of information that help us better answer the mainstream market. And we've already mentioned designing for the environment and sustainability. All right, I want to quickly take you through the other two courses. We did spend most of the time on design thinking, but I do want to ask you the following question. So this is relating to the Breakthrough Innovation course, which is the Systematic Inventive Thinking course. Back in 1398, there was a battle between the Sultanate of Delhi in India and the Mongols that were headed by Timur Khan. And Timur Khan didn't realize this. He probably didn't have very good intelligence, field intelligence for his military, but he suddenly saw that the Delhi army had 120 elephants, and he only really didn't have a lot of time to react to that. The battle was on tomorrow. You could see 120 elephants. For those of you who are familiar a little bit with military history, you would know that the elephant was like the tank of the time, or the aircraft carrier of the time, in that it was a military base that was not only militarily powerful, but was also psychologically very powerful. My question to you is, if you were Timur Khan, and remember, you are a fearless Mongol leader, retreat is not really an option. How would you defeat the elephants? What clever way do you think Timur used to defeat the elephants? Does anybody know this? And the answer lies in a very important concept of used in breakthrough innovation in SIT called the closed world concept, where the idea is that you use only what's available to you within your environment. What is it? What you have access is. Speed and agility is very important. Absolutely. How so? So remember, these still are very powerful platforms, military platforms. I'll save you the breaking your head. But yes, it is related to speed. What he did is he realized he can't defeat the elephants on a face-to-face battle. By the way, don't take the picture as an example of the solution. The picture doesn't tell you the solution. What he did is he used the closed world approach of taking the wheat and the hay that was growing in the fields, tying it to the camels, removing the rider, the warrior, and lighting that hay, those weeds on fire, and sending the camels into the elephants. What that did is it made the elephants are very afraid of fire. The elephants saw this fire coming towards them. They turned around and started running away. And whilst they were doing that, they started trampling over the army of the Delhi Sultanate. So not only, and this is, by the way, one of the facets of SIT, of breakthrough innovation, not only did he defeat the enemy, but he actually used the elephants as a force against the enemy, what he saw as the enemy as well. Okay, so yes, it was the weakness, but the point is that he didn't go out and get elephants. He didn't go out and look for some military equipment. He used what was available to him at that point in time. And that's the point I want to make. That's the closed world approach, that you use what you have access to at that point in time. And that makes a big difference to your ability to answer in good time. So this is from Professor Jacob Goldenberg. I was very fortunate that Professor Goldenberg was my professor when I was doing my MBA. I learned directly from him, and I'm still very closely in touch. We collaborate on various projects today. So I can tell you he's developed a very smart system based on TRIZ. If you heard of TRIZ, TRIZ is actually something that you would know if you're an engineer, or you may know if you're an engineer. It's a Russian-based innovation system that's super complicated to learn. It takes months and months to just begin to get the hang of it. And it's very cumbersome and mathematical. This breakthrough innovation is much simplified version of that, with a lot of advances made to it as well. So you're more than welcome to look up anything that I mentioned on Google. And what you will learn is you will learn infrastructure such as closed world, but you will also learn is the main methodologies in SIT, which include subtraction, where you remove a key component, multiplication, division, attribute. All of these play with existing components of your system, and what they do is something that a lot of people find actually counterintuitive. They put constraints on you. They make it harder for you to come up. They make it harder for you by, in a sense, putting you into a corner and forcing you to be creative. I don't know how many of you have been to brainstorming sessions. I'm pretty sure everyone has been to a brainstorming session. You can put a smiley in if you've been to one. But I wonder if, like me, often you were frustrated in brainstorming by the leader or facilitator who said, hey, there is no limits. You can think of whatever you want. There's absolutely no limits. There's no budget limits. There's no time limits. What we've actually found through research and through practice is that when you leave situations unconstrained like that, thank you, Irina, for that. And I think you would agree with me that it's very frustrating that when you don't have any constraints. It's ironic, right? When anything is possible, it's much harder to come up with ideas. So what we found is by putting constraints onto the way that people can think, whether it's by giving a very low budget, or by saying it must work only in high altitudes, or it can only work in water, or making sometimes crazy constraints like that, which, by the way, is not the methodology here. The methodology here is much more much more organized than the examples I'm giving you, you will find that people actually come up with a lot more creative ideas than they do when it's unconstrained. SIT is used by top companies, by the way, around the world. It's used by Google, it's used by Intel, it's taught at the MBA level of the top universities, INSEAD, Columbia, Yale, Harvard, and it's something that's really powerful, not as well known as design thinking, obviously. I don't know how many of you have heard. Can you put a smiley face if you've heard of SIT before? SIT, by the way, is the Systematic Inventive Thinking methodology that Breakthrough Innovation course teaches. I think most of you probably have not heard about it, but it's a very powerful way to do a quick path to creativity and innovation. And in that sense, once you've combined the knowledge of SIT together with design thinking, you have a really powerful combination, because SIT can get you to ideas very, very quickly, but design thinking will take you through the validation methodologies, the prototyping, the user understanding, to see whether the ideas that you came up with are actually worthwhile and should be moved ahead with. So great combination with those two courses. The final course I want to speak to you about before we mention the capstone, excuse me, is Strategies Innovation, which is based on the 3-box solution. I thought I could have stood for strategy, innovation, and oh, right, no, it's systematic inventive thinking, Richard. It's not strategic. It's ideation. Of course, it can be used in a strategic way. I don't want you to think that design thinking and SIT or BI, as we call it here, is not strategic. Systematic inventive thinking, exactly. It's not that it's not strategic. It's that it is these are ideation methodologies. That's really important to understand. Strategies Innovation is the strategy course. It's a strategy. It's about using innovation in a strategic way. Now, that doesn't mean that when you're doing innovation strategy, you shouldn't be using design thinking. Design thinking is a great tactical tool to use within an overall overriding innovation strategy. So I hope you understand that difference. The fact that something is not by itself inherently strategic doesn't mean that it can't be used as part of a strategy. Okay, but I think we're getting a little bit philosophical, so I'll just move on. Hopefully you understood that distinction. All right, so 3-box solution. This is, let me introduce Professor Vijay Gavindarajan. This is my hero. You may think this sounds a bit nerdy or geeky for me to say that this gentleman here is my hero, as opposed to Superman or Batman. But Professor Vijay Gavindarajan, or VG as is also known, is an absolute champion, in the sense that he revolutionized how innovation is done for large organizations. And he brought a very systematic approach, a strategic approach to it through a lot of research. I'm not going to read through the bullet points, but you can see some of the points here. Sorry, all the bullet points here that describe just what a distinguished professor he is. I have a lot of respect for him. He's got some fantastic books. If I can, I don't know if I've included the books here. Okay, I haven't included here. We do talk about that in the course. There is a book called How Stella Saved the Farm. If there is one innovation book you're going to read this year, by the way, you can read it very quickly. It's a very short book, Saved the Farm. I would tell people it's a great book to read on an airline if you're going overseas, to read on the flight there and on the flight back. Unfortunately, no one's really flying anywhere anymore, but it's still a fantastic book. And How Stella Saved the Farm is like a metaphor using an animal farm for the course of strategies innovation. So there is no set reading that you have to do, but if you read this book, the course will just both the book and the course will come alive even more so than they already do. So that's just a little recommendation from me. It's not a textbook. It's a story about animals trying to save their farm, but it uses all the innovation, strategic innovation that is taught in this course, and it's a great companion in that sense. What does the 3-box solution say? Very, very quickly. It says that you need to plan your future today. So if you want to have a successful New York Times online internet business, you don't start that business in 2021, you started in 1997 when people are only beginning to feel that there is something called internet that might change the world. So the point is, it's not enough to innovate your current business, you also have to innovate your future business and create your future, what's known as box-free experiments. New York Times did that very well. It was only about a year ago, and think about how much time has passed, right? Over 20 years, that the revenue of New York Times online surpassed the revenue of the New York Times a physical newspaper. And as we all know, media has had a major change, hard-copied media is suffering, if not dying, compared to online website media. All right, interesting. If you're following the news, what Facebook's decision today that was announced in the fact that it will no longer carry or allow links of media in Australia after the Australian government has tried to get Facebook to pay for content that is being showcased on Facebook. So if you're interested in media and technology and innovation, that's also something that you may want to have a look at. So strategies innovation, fantastic course. It's a great way to move on from SIT, breakthrough innovation, and from design thinking into how do I actually take these ideas that have been green lighted by management or by VCs, and how do I turn them into successful new businesses or new ventures, right? It doesn't have to be a business. It could be a venture for a government or for an NGO. And that's really important because you can't just try and innovate your current business. You also have to think about the future and what will be the needs of the future. And this course teaches you how to identify what's known as non-linear shifts and weak signals in the market that will ensure that in 5 to 10 years time, you are not only still here and haven't disappeared like Kodak and like Toys R Us or like Blockbuster or any of the famous examples that we know about, companies that didn't adapt and didn't create new businesses, but tried to maintain the same business model and failed miserably. Finally, a few words about the capstone. I've already mentioned that the capstone puts together into practice everything you learned. We don't teach you anything new in the capstone, but we do teach you through weekly office hours and through very detailed feedback that we provide to the teams, how to take a project end-to-end across using all of the three courses. Of course, I didn't want to say 3 methodologies because each course itself contains multiple methodologies. So it would be dozens of best practice tools and methodologies. This is your certificate that you will receive. You can see it's branded with MIT, Columbia, and Dartmouth's Tuck Business School, as well as Emeritus. This is information about financials. People were asking, so it's you can read that here. $3,000 with a non-refundable application fee of $50. And important dates are the program starts on the 4th and application deadline, which is on the 2nd. Of course, there's flexible payment options as well, as you can see here. I'm not going to read through that. If you need any additional information about the financial aspect, please contact program support. Carol is asking the following. The brochure is very generic, syllable-wise. I hope Eli will go into details on the course contents or provide us later with this material. Without this, I do not want to decide whether to take this course. Thank you. Okay, that's absolutely fine, Carol. I totally understand. I hope I provided sufficient details about each of the courses. And the courses, I can tell you, as an innovation professional, are doing the following. They're presenting you with an opportunity to practice in team environments, real world challenges and projects using best practices and best practice tools. Thank you, Janelle, very much for being with us. I see that you have to drop off. So just a few words. Another great thing I love about Emeritus is that it is there's a network for graduates, and people utilize this network and networking because they are connected with like-minded executives and managers and professionals from all over the world. So that's a lot of benefits there, both with future tuition assistance, with connecting with other people, with doing startups or recruiting people or recruiting yourself. I think there's a final question here. That was very okay. So Carol is asking, that was very clear. What about the syllabus? Please contact program support and directly if you want a detailed syllabus. I don't know if obviously detailed syllabus wasn't provided to you, but if that's something that you need to see, please contact program support. I gave so Carol, please ask any specific questions you have about the syllabus. I can tell you that I don't know, maybe for IP reasons, Emeritus does not want to share a detailed syllabus. I don't know if that's the case or not, but I'm sure program support will be able to answer any of your questions if you have specific questions about the syllabus. So please don't hesitate to call them and ask that question. And they're very friendly, very lovely people, and I found that they've been very professional in answering any questions that my students have had, both before and during the course. One more question here from Mukesh. Do we need any specific software, downloads, purchase to study? No, absolutely not. Everything is provided. All the materials are provided. Everything is in the cloud and online. So no, you don't need to make any additional purchases of anything or download or purchase anything else. Everything is provided to you as part of your existing tuition fee. I don't know the answer to the final question. Maybe program support, if you could answer him, that would be fantastic. All right, everybody, thank you so much. I know there was a lot to cover and a lot of information. I hope I didn't give you information overload. I just want to tell you that whatever decision you make, I want to wish you all success in your future careers. And remember that innovation is a game changer, both at a personal career level, but also at a corporate or organizational level. So please keep that in mind. And I look forward to seeing you all in the course when it starts on the 4th of March. Looking forward to it. Thank you, everybody, and all the very best to you all. And thank you, program support, for handling the other questions as well. And we'll meet, hopefully, when design thinking starts. Bye, everybody. Bye for now.